Hey everybody, today we're going to learn the quick way and the right way to patch a hole in your drywall. Let's do this. So the first thing I like to do is I like to take my sander, and I just use whatever sandpaper is on there. Usually it's probably not in very good shape, and my putty knife that I'm going to use. And it's got a little bit left over from the last time, and I like to take the sander and just go over this, get that old stuff off of it. And then kind of take it like that, take it like that. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna make that nice and clean and put kind of an edge on, so that you're not gonna mess around with it when you're putting the new putty up there. The easy way basically centers on taking a bunch of spackling, shoving it up in that hole right there, and letting it dry, and then waiting, and then putting more, and then adding more on top. You could use a piece of tape. Honestly, it really isn't gonna make that big of a difference. You're just kind of going for quick and dirty. And the biggest downside here is you're gonna have to wait a lot longer for it to dry, especially if you're using just a regular all-purpose and you're not going with any kind of fast drying or fast setting type of compound. And so you're gonna spend some time waiting. That's okay. If you just want a quick and dirty thing with very little materials, all you need is the joint compound and a putty knife, and that's it. And some time, and then eventually you'll need a sander, and then the paint on the other end. And then if you do want to texture it to match, you will need some texture, which I'm gonna do. So I was about to shoot the next part of the video, and I opened up my joint compound, and so this is something that you're gonna wanna pay attention to. I opened up a joint compound, and it is maybe a little gross. So you wanna keep that airtight, sealed, and honestly, this stuff costs like $5 a jar. Just buy a new jar whenever you're ready to patch. So I'm gonna head over to the hardware store and get some of that quick set stuff. All right, see you in a bit. Bye. I'm not a big fan of drywall patches because I feel like they put like a raised bump on the drywall that you can really see, and honestly it doesn't make that much difference, especially for the type of hole that we're going to talk about. And then if you have a much bigger hole, like you're just better off replacing it with a true drywall patch, a piece of drywall put on there, which we're going to see in just a minute on the right way to patch drywall. I don't like patches because at the end of the day I just don't think they work super great. So, but to each his own. If you like them, use them. So because this is the quick way, it's going to be a multi-phase process. Now, it's not necessarily easier or quick, I guess I should say, because of the time that it takes, because you're going to have to wait for the dry in between. But that's why you use this quick dry stuff, the purple stuff that dries. It comes out harder and not as wet as the joint compound. And so you really want to take just a ton of it and shove it up in there as much as you can around all the edges. Stick it up in the hole, let it dry completely. So you don't want to see any purple left. So we're gonna wait for that to dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so after you let it dry, and it's gonna take a considerable amount of time to dry because you're laying it in thick. If you don't have a few days, then step isn't right for you. So after you let it dry, your next step is gonna be to sand it down and then to fill it in again. Now for this second fill, I'm actually going to use the regular spackling, not the quick dry, because it's a little thinner, and so it just will get into those small cracks. And then we'll do another sand, texture, paint after that. So for the right way, you're going to actually need some drywall, and what you're going to do is you're going to cut a small square in and around the hole you want to patch, and then you're going to create some kind of backing. I'm going to use some shims on the back and some glue to put the little piece up there, unless you're centered over a stud, in which case you don't really need to do that. You're going to put the piece on there, you're going to tape, you're going to compound, and I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a minute. This takes a lot longer, but it's going to dry quicker. It's going to be more correct. You are going to have to do all the puttying and the compound, and then at the end of it you have to do the texture in order for it to look right, and then of course paint at the end. And so this is kind of the long way, not really hard or any more difficult, but this is the right way to do it. Yeah. It's really a simple thing, but it can actually save you a lot of money. In this next part, what I want to do is kind of break down the cost-benefit ratio here. And this is a calculation that you have to make anytime you decide you want to do something yourself, because your time may be much more valuable than, let's say, mine or another person's. And so you may decide that it's more worth it to hire somebody else. But for something like this, in my opinion, you're going to be better off to do it yourself. So let's take a look at this. Just ask it just like that. And it comes up, and usually you can see a good range right here in the top. This is based on Angie's List. That's a very well-known, well-respected source. You can go down and see Home Advisor. You can see some ranges down here. So basically what I'm seeing, I'll just take a quick look. Obviously I have some base knowledge here, so I kind of know how much it would be. But I'm seeing it could cost anywhere between $50 and $200. Well, the total cost of my project was about $10, and that's buying all the materials. If you had to buy everything from scratch, I'm going to put it right here on the screen, how much it would be to get a putty knife, the putty, tape, and a piece of drywall. The benefit of doing this one myself far outweighs how much it would actually cost. And so I can see very clearly that this is something that I want to do myself, and it's really an easy decision. So that about wraps it up. That's the quick way and the right way to patch and repair drywall. And at the end of the day, both are pretty easy. You're gonna do it the way that it's done, then you're gonna sand, you're gonna texture, you're gonna paint, and you're gonna get fairly similar results if you do it right. And so just want to encourage you to try it out. And at the end of the day, drywall is really easy. If you screw it up, you just try again, cut out another hole, buy another little patch piece of drywall. Really a simple process. Hey, if this has been helpful, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support.